Hey, what is up guys? I'm here today with a video for you. I just did an Infernoid deck profile pure. I made some pretty crappy proxies, but I made some proxies. So that way I can show you my list for Lairnoids, Infernoid, Lair Darkness, Infernoids, whatever you really want to call it. So I'm really excited to show you this. The proxies are good enough so I can test at locals and whatnot. Instead of just online. I've been testing this deck online. The ratios that I'm running are amazing, in my opinion. Some people can vary, you know, it's all up to you and what your play style is. There's certain cards that I don't run. Some that I might run more of than you would. Some cards that I'm not running, like hand traps and whatnot. I don't feel that they're necessary. The only thing that I would add to this deck is 3 Called by the Grave, and there are cards that you can switch out for Called by the Grave. But that being said, that's the only thing that I feel is missing from this deck, and I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to get into this list for you guys. Okay, so Infernoid players, don't hate me. Also, you guys who can make amazing proxies, don't hate me as well. I couldn't get a color printer. I got my 2 ulti Anukus, one's unlimited, one's first ed. I should have another first ed coming in the mail, I believe. I'm not sure. I run 2 Infernoid Deviati. I love the way that the Battle of Light's Revenge version looks. It almost looks ulti. I love that the type is, you know, foil as well. So you got your monster wipe, spell and trap wipe, trap negation, monster negation. I really think it's cool how they both have like those effects, like one to wipe all the monsters but can negate spell and trap. One to wipe all the spell and trap, negate monster effects. I think that's awesome. So I run 2 and 2. I don't feel like any more is necessary. I don't want to run more. It's been great for me. Next, 3 Infernoid Decatron. I love Infernoid Decatron. 3 is mandatory. So my favorite is to open a double Void Feast with a Void Spell and Trap, or to open a Decatron, normal summon him, dump a Devi, so that way I can stop any sort of hand trap and still have a Void Feast that can go off, so that way I can have 3 Decatron on board with 3 negates. If you have Lair of Darkness on the field and you open up double Void Feast, you should not lose the game. Okay, so next I run 2 level 3 Harmadic. I use him for, you know, of course, the basic monster removal. Other than that, he has that effect on your opponent's turn to where he can tribute himself or another monster on the field to banish a card from their graveyard, which comes in clutch more than you would think. 2 Petrulia, that's the spell and trap removal. 1 Sajet. See, this is the one that I really love, bringing out, you know, having a Void Feast, bringing out 2 Decatron and Sajet with Lair of Darkness on the field, being able to activate the effect to tribute a card to banish a card from the graveyard during either player's turn is amazing. You can get rid of boss monsters, monsters that can't be targeted because tribute's a cost, and it's amazing. I think the only thing it can't tribute is Masterpiece if it's spell immune. So I love it. I really do. So I only run 1 of it though. 1 is necessary. Next I run 2 Infernoid Cytesmas. I really don't know how to pronounce his name. Love this card. Forgot to mention with Sajet, when it attacks, it doesn't have to be a monster or anything. You can activate his effect where they have to banish a card from their extra deck. Cytesmas has the same effect where he can tribute a monster during either player's turn. So with Lair of Darkness on the field, this is a great card to, you know, have out there. He's a 2600 attack. When he attacks an opponent's monster, you can banish another monster from the field at the end of the battle phase. And being able to tribute off someone's monster once per turn with the field spell is so broken. Now here comes the proxies. I run 1 Lilith. I feel like 1 Lilith is all that I need to run because I run 4 traps in the deck. I don't want to draw into a trap or into a double trap and have this card be dead. You draw into a double trap, the card's dead, but still it's better to have 1 in case you draw into it. It's a great way to get your double Void Feast player to even get a Void Feast play off if you draw into it first turn. With its quick effect, being able to tribute another monster on the field, a dark monster on the field, So with the field spell out, it's amazing. Tribute your opponent's monster, or it can tribute itself. So that's great. I run 1 Diabolos because 2 can be bricky. I like running 2 just because I like the idea of being able to bring out 2 or being able to proc basically 1 Diabolos off another. If it tributes itself, right, to take a card from your opponent's hand and either place it on the top or the bottom of their deck, you can have one in your hand or in your grave that'll proc off a dark monster being tributed, and it specials itself out, so it's like you never lose a Diabolos. It's untargetable by monsters' effects, and it cannot be tributed. Also, it has that effect where you can tribute a dark monster on the field, and the opponent has to choose a card from their hand that they want to put on the top or the bottom. So it's great to use when they have like 2 cards in hand, 1 card in hand. It's a really fun play, and it's a 3,000 beat stick. Next, 3 Arima. I think it's Arima, the King of Wickedness. Like I said, these are shitty proxies. I didn't have a color printer. This is basically like a terraforming right here. You're able to discard it from your hand to be able to get a terraforming and add it to your hand. So you can get your Lair of Darkness field spell, or you can normal summon it, tribute itself, draw 1 card. If you tribute another dark monster besides itself, it can search a monster with 2,000 or more attack. So you can search your Diabolos, who has the effect of if a dark monster is tributed, it can special summon itself, whether it's in your hand or it's added to your hand. So if this tributes another dark monster on the field and you search it, it can still special itself, which is absolutely broken, and I don't understand how that works, but it does, and it's really good. But yeah, Arima's a guaranteed 3 of. You don't have to run as much terraforming. Next, 3 Lair of Darkness. Absolute must. Broken field spell. Need it. Turns all the monsters on the field dark. And once per turn, if you're going to activate a monster's effect by tributing a monster, you can do it once per turn. And at the end of the turn, if you've been tributing all kind of monsters, which Infernoids do, and this deck does as well, on your turn, it'll special tokens to your field, equal to the amount of times you tributed a monster. But on your opponent's turn, it works for them as well. So if you're tributing off all their monsters, say you tribute 3 times, they get 3 tokens at the end of the turn, which isn't necessarily horrible, being that you can still tribute those off the next turn and attack into them. It's great because Infernoids are very grindy, in my opinion, so it works out very well. Next, I run 1 Terraforming. I'm a little upset this is not the secret or the super. Haven't been able to pick it up. I'm kind of cheap, kind of broke, so I got 1 Terraforming. I think 1 Terraforming is all that I want to run, being that I have 3 ways to get it here in 1, so it's like I'm running 7 copies of Lair of Darkness. So it's not necessary to run more, and do not run Metaverse. Metaverse is trash. It's too slow. It's not good enough. Do not run it. Next, Void Imagination. This card right here is amazing. All the Void spell and traps are amazing, but this is where a lot of your power comes from. Being able to turn all Infernoid monsters on the field who have their original levels to 1, so that way you could spam the field with Infernoid monsters is great. The only one that this doesn't work on is Decatron with that effect. But if your opponent has a monster that's summoned from the extra deck and you do not, you can send this card from field to grave and send 6 monsters from your deck to make Infernoid Tiara. And Infernoid Tiara is pretty damn good in this deck. You can also use cards that you control around the field. So the only downside to it is if you dump 2 Devies, you can't really use this card. I believe, if I'm wrong, please correct me. Next, Void Banishment. I love this card. Opening this card means that I'm going to open a Void Feast play, and I want to open Void Feast every single game. Void Banishment, I discard a card, and I can add a Void spell or trap from the deck to the hand, so it's great if I need Void Imagination because they have an extra deck monster on the field and I want to get rid of their board. I'm going for Void Imagination. But to start, I'm going for Void Feast. So the only downside to this is that if you use it, you can't summon any other monsters, normal or special, any other monsters besides Infernoids. So it's best to start your plays with, you know, like Lilith or Arima if you need to. Other than that, Void Banishment is amazing, and it has a second effect to where if an Infernoid battles another monster, whether you attack or they attack, you can banish this card from the field, or not banish, you can send this from grave, from the field, and you can banish both those monsters. I don't usually tend to use that, but it works if you have one of the baby Infernoids out, and they're attacking with a big monster, you can at least get rid of a problem monster that way. Next, I run one for one. I wish this was the Ultra. Please don't yell at me, guys. It's the only one that I have. It's only at 1. If it was at more than 1, this card would be played at more than 1 because this card is great. Next, 1 Monster Gate. I do like this more than Reasoning, and I would run Reasoning, but I don't have one. I've been looking through my freaking common bulk, and I have way too much of it, so I don't think I'm going to find a Reasoning if I have one. But Monster Gate, I feel like, is better than Reasoning because Reasoning, they can call 1, right? And you excavate, and then you come up on a Decatron, and all of it goes to grave. Monster Gate, you just excavate until you find a monster that can be normal summoned, and you're going to send a lot of Infernoids to the grave most times. You only run, I believe, 3. You run 8 monsters that can be normal summoned. 1 Diabolos, 1 Lilith, 3 Arima, and 3 Decatron. So this card is going to get a lot of shit to your grave. The only downside to that is, of course, you're going to get rid of important spells and traps if you haven't opened them already. Next, I run 2 Burial from a different dimension. I run 2 of them because I'm going to banish a lot. I'm going to be banishing my monsters so I can swarm the field. And eventually you're going to run out of resources, and that's a problem if you're in a grind game. So you got 2 of these to get, you know, your stuff back into the grave so you can keep special summoning your Infernoids. Next, I run the 3 Dark World Dealings. I think this is what I would cut so I can run 3 Called by the Grave, but at the same time, this card's amazing. It's draw power, and it allows you to discard. You want to get your stuff into the graveyard. It's what you want with Infernoids. You don't necessarily need them in your hand. But Dark World Dealings can come up in a bad situation where you have 1 card in your hand and you draw Dark World Dealings. So, you know, that's not the greatest. That Dark World Dealings is your only card, but opening it is great. It basically can fix your hand. Next, I run the 3 Void Feast, being able to open double Void Feast with a Void spell. You can get out your 3 Decatron, a Saitama's, and a Sajet. Basically, you just can special up to 3 Infernoids from your deck that equals exactly 8. So you can get your Decatron on the field first turn, have a Devi Decatron, and then activate this, and you're good. And then Epidemic Virus, Eradicator Epidemic Virus. This is there because Brandish Maidens are going to be a thing. Brandish Maidens are going to be very good. And they're all spell-based. You call spells, they're fucked for 3 turns. So it's great. I mean, they can continue to, you know, keep moving throughout that disruption, but it makes it a lot harder for them. And if you can make it harder for them, then you're in a better situation. And also, I side Full Force Virus because Full Force Virus is an amazing card. Like, I don't know how else to put it. It just is. So yeah, that's it for my monster, spell, and trap lineup from my main deck. I'm going to go ahead and show you my extra deck. It's kind of like a work in progress. If you guys see anything that I should change, please let me know. But there are cards that are set in stone, and I'll explain those as I go along. So, of course, to ulti, Infernoid Sierra, I only have 1 first ed, but I have 2 unlimiteds. The other unlimiteds in my drawer. I just haven't re-sleeved it. I want to keep my first ed in as best condition as possible. That's why I triple sleeve my ultis. I put the skinny sleeve, the white sleeve, and then the magic size sleeve. I triple sleeve basically my entire extra deck. At the very least, I double it. So Infernoid Sierra, you use 3 monsters, right? And you can send 3 cards from your extra deck to the grave. It's not optional. You have to do it. And so does your opponent. 5 or more, you and your opponent send the top 3 cards of your deck to the grave. 8 or more, you target 3 of your banished monsters and add them back to the graveyard. And 10 or more, you send your entire deck from or not your entire deck, your entire hand to the grave. So if you can use 10, like if you have a Future Fusion and you make this and you dump all your Infernoids, and then, you know, the second turn after you activated Future Fusion, because that's the way it is now, you bring this out, your opponent's just not going to necessarily know what to do, because you're probably going to have the board spammed with Infernoids, and you're going to have negate, 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 and then you're going to activate these 3 cards to help clear their field. 3 Elder Entity Natis, these are the 3 cards that you send to the grave when you bring out a Tiara, because when they hit grave, you can pop a card on the field. So you send 3 to the grave, you've got 3 pops right there. Next, I run 1 side frame Lord Omega, because you can make this with your tokens and a Decatron. If you play Glow Bulb, which people will probably do in the future, this is a great card. You help control the hand, and it's a monster that you can, you know, basically float on and off the field and add banished cards from your banished pile back to your grave. So it's a great addition in this deck. I run 1 Clear Wing Synchro Dragon and the Crystal Wing, because this is a possible play once again with Void Feast. It depends on what you want to do. You can bring out your Sajet, Decatron, and choose not to activate Decatron's effect, and you've got a Crystal Wing right there. You can also run Trishula in this deck. I want to run Trishula. I don't know if I have 15 cards, but it's a card that I want to run. An absolute must for me is Bills. Bills, because it works so great in a True Draco matchup, and basically when you have a monster on the field that causes problems, like a Borreload or something like that, which most cards aren't going to cause problems. You're going to bring out Anuku and you're going to field wipe all the monsters. So Bills is great. You can make it with a token and Decatron. If you run Raiden in the Infernoid Lair Darkness build, it's another thing that you can use with the Lair Darkness field spell, Patrulia, and Raiden makes Bills. And then I got 1 Link Spider. I saw that Link Spider just came out in Ulti. I think that's fucking stupid. I think the new OTS pack is horrible. It's good for World Chalice. I'm a World Chalice player as well, but I think it's absolutely horrible for, you know, players in general. Ulti Link Spider, Ulti Cosmic, which is decent, and an Ulti Herald of Light. It just makes 0 sense to me. Then you got the 1 Proxy Dragon. This is for token stuff. I want to run a Link Karibo. I don't have a Link Karibo. Maybe another Link Spider, just for more plays, so you can make Borreload a little bit easier. 1 Decode, 1 Skull Dread, 1 Borreload. Borreload, necessary problem monster for a lot of decks. And Skull Dread fixes hands, and it'll beef up all your Infernoids that you summon to that spot, to any of his arrows, and your Diabolos as well. So it's a great card. Make it when you can. Only if you're confident. You don't want to waste your entire field just to bring out 2 more monsters. It doesn't make any sense. So that is it. I really hope that you guys enjoyed this deck profile. I know that I use proxies. Some people hate proxies. I completely understand if you don't like them. I don't really like them either. But I have to be able to play this thing. I have to be able to test it with the cards. I don't like necessarily playing online all the time. So being able to test it at locals is going to be amazing. And I really hope that you enjoyed it. Please leave a like. Please subscribe if you liked, and come back for more content. And please let me know what you want to see. All right. Deuces, y'all.